Hello everybody, it's Pat here from Beads and Plenty More. Today I'm going to be making a bracelet with wire, and we have a 10 millimeter bead, and then we've got the wire that goes through the center, and then the other lighter weight wire I'm using to wrap around. Now I've used an 18 gauge to go through the center, and I've done it in two different kinds on the outside edges. I've used a 22 gauge wire for the outside edge on one, and a 21 half round wire on the other one, and they look quite a lot the same. So we'll go ahead and start with I took 35 centimeters of the heavy 18 gauge wire. I'm going to make the first loop on one side, so that the clasp has a loop on each side here. So we're going to do the first loop, go around, and then I'll make the second loop, and then we'll do the clasp at the end. So I'll go ahead and about 4 or 5 centimeters back from the edge, I'm going to grab the heavy wire, wrap it around. We want to make a fairly big circle, because I will have to get the clasp to go through this circle. So maybe even a little bit bigger than that. And then once we get it around like that, we're going to do a wrap on there. It's always a good idea to have extra wire when you're doing a wrap. It's very, very hard to do the wrap if your wire is right to the last little bit. So that's our first circle that will be on the one end of the bracelet. Okay, so back in here, now I see I'm going to just straighten this a little bit. And we're going to cut away this excess piece, because I don't need, just a couple wraps is good on a heavy wire. So cut it away from myself so that it doesn't snap at me. And the crimping pliers that have this little circle on the end, they're ideal for tucking this little bit. If you don't have a set of these, you can use your chain nose pliers. They work quite well too. Okay, ready to go with the beads. We'll take our 22 gauge wire, the lightweight wire, and I'm going to start it at the end of the heavy wire, right in here, and we're going to just give it a twist from one side to the other so that it's nice and firm, and then slide it up to the unit that I made there. Okay, so put a bead on. We'll put the beads on one at a time. There we go, first bead. And so what I do with that, I take the one on the right hand side, could be the other way too, but this is how we'll do it. The right hand goes over and comes back under to return to the same side, and the left one starts going under first and back to the same side. Your thin wire will always return to the original side, and if you can remember that, it's probably becomes easy. So over, back to the first side, and this side under and back to the same side. And we'll continue adding one more bead, and over and back. This one under and back. And always snug up your wire each time too, to make sure you don't get little loops in there, because that won't look as nice as if you have it nice and tight. So continue to add one bead over and back. And this one under and back to the original side. Now, to make the bracelet the size that fits for me, I used 15 beads. So we'll just continue over, and then this one's under and back. Continue and snug them up again. Keep them straight too, because you want the wire that goes over top of the bead to be nice and smooth. So that part here, if you get kinks in the wire, you should straighten it before it gets too kinked. Otherwise it doesn't look as nice on top of the bead. So continue with over and back on this side. Smooth it out each time. Back and over and snug. Over Always important to keep your wire quite snug when you're working with wire. Otherwise it doesn't look as nice when you're finished. And back. You see it's coming quite nicely with all the nice swirls around the beads. By doing one on top and one underneath, we get the bead circled nicely. Otherwise, if we did them both from the same side, they would tend to be both on one side and not spread out. And you want them to circle the bead nicely. So back over this way, under and back. And getting almost done here. Over and back, and under and back. Snug. As I said, I used 15 beads on this one. So there's and under. And under and back and snug. One more, and after the last one we're going to do an extra twirl of this thin wire so that we make sure that it doesn't come unraveled after when we're ready to finish the bracelet. So around one more time with the right hand one, and around one more time with the left hand one. And then we will go ahead and cut these thin wires off, always holding the wire when you cut so that you don't snap into your face or the next person. And we'll snug those up. There we go. So now we're ready to do the circle the same as this side on this side. And we'll take my round nose pliers. I'm going to start leaving a little neck in here because I want to make sure I've got enough room to do the wrap. Go quite a ways up on the plier because I want a large enough circle that my clasp can go through. So then we'll bring that wire around and do another wrap. This is called a wire wrap loop. Very popular with wire, and it holds your circle very tight. Okay, go ahead and cut this away. And again, tidy up that last little bit so that it snugs in and doesn't pick the skin. So there, that's our basic bracelet. You can shape it. And one big benefit of wire is that if you put it on, then you can then shape it around your wrist so that it fits really nice instead of having to have it just off a bit. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and make the clasp now. I have a piece 10 centimeters long here, and the clasp is like this. It's got a spiral, a V, and then we make the hook that will go from into the V part will hook into one of the rings, and then the hook will hook as we open and close. So this is where your fine nosed pliers are very important. We'll go in here right at the tip and make that small little circle to start with. And then we'll start the spiral from that small circle. Change to the chain nose pliers once you get the circle done as a holder plier, and just hold and push the wire around the outside edge. We'll make a nice little spiral, kind of match it up to my sample here. Okay, so then we're going to bring this wire around, and we're going to take the chain nose plier so that you get a really sharp edge to make that V. Bring it up like that, and we have make the V shape like that, and then follow this around a little bit further, and then I'm going to make the hook, and I'll use this pen to give a nice circle on the hook. You can use anything that is rounded. even the handles of your pliers. So there I've got it to that point. And then I'm going to just do that last little turn on the end so that it has a little bit tidier end on it. Again, I want to do a real small circle, so I'll use the ends of the round pliers. There we go. And all that's left now is I'm going to hammer it with this metal block, and that will make the wire quite a bit stronger. Okay, get rid of those frustrations. Whack, 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 whack. And it also looks really nice. So, doesn't take too many pounds, just a few. Then we go ahead and we hook the one end in through here and get it down to where the V is. That's the one side. And the other side hooks that side. And the last thing to do is to just take and make sure these circles that we made are sitting upright so that the clasp will lie flat, because we want it to lie nice and flat. So there's your wire bracelet with 18 gauge going through and 22 or 21 gauge wrapping around, and then a hammered clasp. Thanks again. Bye.